Welcome to the paper on research methods and statistics. This is the first module titled Introduction to Scientific Research. What are the learning objectives of this module? By the end of this module, you would have 1. Understood the basic concept of scientific research, learnt what are the different stages or steps that are involved in a scientific research study, and 3. You would have developed an aptitude and appreciation for scientific research. Before we go further into the definitions of research, let us first familiarize ourselves with the basic concepts related to research. The first concept, probably the concept that you would hear most often as a researcher, is data. Data is the information that is collected as part of research. Data can be primary or secondary. Primary data is the first-hand information that is collected during a research study. Secondary data refers to any information or data that has already been existing, that has already been collected. That is called secondary data. Census is an example of a secondary data when you are using certain part of the census data to give more information about the research settings or respondents that are a part of your research study. So, what are respondents? Respondents are the people from whom data is collected during a research study. Analysis is the last important concept that you need to know. Analysis is the process of giving meaning to the collected data. Now that you have learnt the basic concepts of research, let us go into the definition of research. A studious inquiry or examination is specially investigation or experimentation aimed at discovery and interpretation of facts, revision of accepted theories or laws in the light of new facts, and or practical application of such new or revised theories or laws. Based on the above definition, we can reason that research is a systematic activity, a planned activity that involves 3 tasks. 1. Collection of data. The data can be primary, secondary or both in a research study. Second, the analysis and interpretation of this collected data. And third, comparison of this newly analyzed data to what is already known. We do this comparison in research. We compare the data to what is already known to do the following. First, to see whether your research study is providing support to already known information or existing knowledge. Second, that your research study findings are challenging that which is already existing as theory. And third, provide new insights into the existing knowledge. This means a scientific research can be conducted on any topic as far as certain conditions are met. What are these conditions? 1. When the entire process can be planned and systematic. In other words, you should know as a researcher what exactly you are doing. Second, where it is possible that you can collect data, primary or secondary, mostly primary data. Third, when the collected information can be interpreted and analyzed. And fourth, there is a discovery of new knowledge or a comparison of this newly interpreted information with already available information. Now, let us take an example to understand this clearly. Suppose you want to find out what the student social workers, who are the students currently, are thinking about their fieldwork placements. You want to know that so that you can make their fieldwork more meaningful to them. Let us apply the 4 conditions that I just enumerated to see whether this is a researchable topic. The first condition, as I said, whether a research study can be conducted systematically on this topic. Yes, if you take a topic like perception of student social workers on their fieldwork placements, it can be conducted systematically. Second, does it involve collection of data or information? Yes, it will. You can ask the student social workers about what they feel about their fieldwork placements. You can also probably go and ask those who are placing students in different fieldwork placements. So, primary data is also feasible if you take this research topic. Third point, are you going to analyze and interpret the collected data? Yes, you can and you will. In fact, you can look at different parameters to analyze the data collected. You can, for example, look at the socioeconomic status of students from whom you have collected data to see whether that influences their opinions about fieldwork placements. Or you can look at their previous fieldwork experiences if they have any, and whether they have any bearing on their opinions about fieldwork placements. So, definitely for this topic you can do analysis and interpretation of the data. Then you can also look at whether what the male students feel about fieldwork placements are different from what the female students feel about the fieldwork placements. In other words, whether there are any differences based on their gender. So, there are different parameters on which you can analyze this data to find out new information related to the topic. This brings us to the fourth condition. Will you compare the newly interpreted information to what is already known? If there is no information available on opinions or views of student social workers about their fieldwork placements, then this can be actually path-breaking research studies. But we know that there are research studies conducted on this topic. But what you can look at is how your study is contributing to discovery of new facts, new insights related to this study. So, this fourth condition can also be fulfilled if you take this research topic. Therefore, perception and opinions of student social workers about their fieldwork placements can be a very good research topic. Let us consider another example. You want to study the concept of childhood and its evolution through the years. Can this be a researchable topic? Let's put it to test using the same four conditions. What was the first condition? It was, can it be a well thought out and planned project? Yes, it can. Does it involve collection of information? See, the topic is understanding the concept of childhood and its evolution over years. You can get information about this topic through different books, what different authors have felt and written about the concept of childhood. But collection of primary data would not be possible unless with technological advance you can do time travel, go 100 years back, conduct the data collection and come back. So, though there is information available on this topic, any new information related to the topic will not be possible. So, third, will you be able to analyze and interpret the data? Yes, whatever data that is available in the books, that can be analyzed, but no new data is possible with this topic. Therefore, it brings us to the fourth point, whether you are getting any new information, new insights through your research study. We can say that though it is a topic that has been discussed through books and texts, it is not researchable because new information or data will not be possible. Therefore, understand the concept of childhood and its evolution over years cannot be a researchable topic. However, if you tweak it a little and take the topics such as the concept of childhood as understood and believed by 3 generations, then probably it can be a researchable topic because you can collect primary data from the grandparents, from the parents and from their children on what they understand as childhood. Research usually involves 9 steps. These are problem identification or clearly narrowing down the focus of your research. Second, review of available literature on the subject selected for this study. Third, once you do review of literature, it will also help you to do problem formulation, which means stating research questions and objectives of the study and formulating relevant hypotheses. Then the fourth step is writing a research proposal. Now that you have done the literature review and have got your research questions and objectives in place, as well as probably have formulated hypothesis, you can go into the step of writing a research proposal. It will also involve deciding a research methodology or drawing a research design. Many times this comes before you start writing your research proposal, because your research proposal also includes a part on the methodology that you are going to use. Then selection of study population or sample and preparation of tools of data collection. Then seventh step is collecting the data from the respondents. Then once the data is collected, it brings you to the next step of analyzing and interpreting the data. And then the last step is writing the research report. Each of these stages will be discussed in details in the first step, which is problem identification or clearly narrowing down the focus of research. You decide exactly on what you want to conduct a study. You first select an area of research that interests you and is an original topic. Then you go through the available literature on the topic that you have chosen. What is the literature that you look at? You look at the research reports, journal articles, materials from textbooks and other sources of references and website based on information to narrow down the topic to a more specific topic for your study. Points to keep in mind when deciding or focusing on a topic of your research are: 1. First and foremost, your interest. This is really important. You should want to know more about the topic that you want to take study on. For example, if you feel very strongly about child rights, then you should research on child rights, an aspect of child rights. Second is available literature. If there is very little information available on a topic, it becomes difficult to research on it. Though this does not mean that if there is no available literature on it or very little literature available related to your topic, you should not conduct a research on it. It just means that it will be difficult for you to conduct research on it, because it will not be so easy for you to identify multiple aspects related to the topic under study. The third criteria is feasibility, possibility, practicality. In terms of easy availability of sources of data and or the respondents, and also other resources in terms of time, finances, manpower that is available for you to conduct the study, and what the topic would actually require. There should be a match between the two to make your research study feasible. The next criteria is ethical issues, a very important criteria indeed for you to consider. The topic that you have chosen should not raise ethical questions, both in the subject matter focused as well as the type of respondents envisaged. The next criteria for selection of a research topic is originality. Your research should have one or more aspects which have not been researched upon too much, so that you can demonstrate originality. You can find something new through your research study. Once you have identified the topic on which you want to conduct a study, then the second step is to review available literature on the subject that you have chosen. Read scholarly articles from journals, research reports, dissertations, the government or other reports that are available on the subject, materials from magazines, periodicals, conference and seminar papers which have been published, books, audio-visual materials, everything that is available that will give you information on the subject that you have chosen. When reading, try to identify the existing information gap related to the topic, and which in turn will justify the rationale for your present study. Remember, we have said the important criteria while selecting a research topic is also originality. Through your research project, you should be able to find something new, new insights, new facts, expansion of the existing knowledge. So, there are these three things that you need to do as part of a literature review. 1. Read as much as you can. Critically analyze what you read. Third, write your analysis of what you have read. You must remember to note down the page number from which you get the information during your literature review. You should also keep detailed bibliography of the source of information with you. This is important even when you are planning not to include the information verbatim. Even the ideas or concepts need to be annotated. Just noting down the names of the authors and the year of publication might not be enough, because the same author might have written more than one publications in the same year. It is an extremely difficult exercise to trace the source at a later stage, and it involves a great deal of time. Then the third step, that is to formulate your research problem. To frame your focus into research question and specific research objectives or hypothesis, you need to clarify or clearly identify 1. The geographical location for your study. 2. The time period being considered for examining in your research, namely whether your study refers to the past, to the present, or prediction of something in future, and the number of years that you will be examining if it is in the past or future. The specific sub areas of the topic selected about which you will require information from the respondents in the study. Then the demographic aspects of the respondents or the sample or the population from which you will collect the data, such as their demographic, social and economic background, age, gender, state of literacy, type of family, place of original domicile, caste, religion, type of occupation, income status, especially if they are related to your research topic. An example of a research question is, to what extent does the financial status of parents affect the educational rights of children with special needs in suburban Mumbai? This is the research question. The example of a research objective will be to study the parents' socio-economic background to ascertain whether ensuring the educational rights of their children with special needs is influenced by it to any extent. This is the objective. Then the hypothesis related to this might be, higher the financial status of the parents, better the educational opportunities provided to their children with special needs in Mumbai. The fourth step is to decide your methodology. There are two aspects to developing the methodology. First, deciding the orientation of your research. This means deciding whether the research needs a qualitative or a quantitative methodology, or even a mix of both these methods. This decision would be largely based on the focus of your research, the objectives or hypothesis. It is necessary to remember that you would have to read extensively to determine the methodology most suited for the topic under study. Deciding the appropriate sampling design is the second aspect, which involves deciding the population that you will ask questions or collect data from, and what will be your tools of data collection. The fifth step is writing a research proposal. Why do you need a research proposal? It is needed to 1. Clarify in researcher's mind the key elements involved in a research process such as the problem which you have narrowly focused, the rationale for the present study, the research questions, objectives, hypothesis, key concepts involved, their operational definitions and the research design. 2. To develop an initial work plan, how you will go about doing it systematically. Third, to assess the kind of resources including time that you will need to conduct the research study. Fourth, you also need the research proposal to provide sufficient information for the readers who might be professors, commissioning agencies to evaluate the proposed study, whether to give the sanction to it or not. And this will also be required to get the formal sanction to finally carry out the research study. Once you get the formal sanction, the research proposal would also help you to get the funding for the research and obtain other resources like access to computer, time allocation for the research, reference books, support from the concerned authorities and so on. Sample selection and preparation of data collection tools come next, that is step 6. Sampling design refers to the process of selecting appropriate number of respondents from the target population of the study. It includes determining the sample size or the number of cases to be studied. How many respondents are you going to question during your data collection process, that is sample size. Choosing the particular sampling technique and estimating the possible sampling errors. Preparation of the tools of data collection includes identifying the best tools for research. The tools for data collection will also depend upon the nature of study design and the characteristics of the sampling. Generally, for collecting self-reported data from the respondents, one can use personal interview method and or questionnaire method. Field observation by the researcher or appointed investigators can be useful in studies involving processes or manifest behaviors, interactions. For interview, tools such as interview schedule and guides are used. Developing the tools, pre-testing the tools. Once the tool is finalized, it is pre-tested or pilot tested on a similar sample, though the sample might be very small than your final sample, for checking its appropriateness and clarity of contents, including the language used to frame the questions. Based on the results of the pre-test, the tools can be revised, modified and then finalized. The 7th step involves the collection of data and requires a great deal of time. The data collection can take place in the field as it is, the real world as it is, or in a laboratory where you have created conditions artificially, depending on the requirements of the research study. In social work settings, data collection usually takes place in the field or the real world and not so much in the laboratories. Data analysis and interpretation is the 8th step. The process of giving meaning to the data collected is called data analysis. In order to do it, the raw data has to be processed first by entering into the computer using an appropriate package like SPSS. Once the data entry is done, along with the data cleansing, the analysis can take place as per the predetermined plan of analysis. The analysis in a quantitative study can be done with the help of statistics, whereas in qualitative study it can be done descriptively. Statistical analysis of data requires the use of numbers, frequency tables, relevant statistical techniques including tests of significance, correlation and variance. Similarly, graphs and charts can also be used to present the quantitative data in a report. Analysis may be descriptive, where you use the words of the respondents as they are. You quote them directly to add authenticity to the data. The ninth and the last step in research process is writing the research report. A quantitative research report is very different from a qualitative research report in many ways. This will be discussed in detail in module 29. In order to conduct a research study successfully, a researcher has to be adequately skillful at carefully planning and executing the project independently. He should be skillful in writing. He should have scientific writing skills, including the use of APA style referencing. He should have good analytical and critical thinking skills. He should have logical and systematic frame of mind. He should have good organization and presentation skills to present his findings logically, neatly, and which would be reader friendly. Timekeeping or sticking to the deadlines and completing the project on time is also an important skill that a researcher needs to have. Please remember that these are all skills, and skills can always be learnt if you have the motivation. Kindly attempt the Assessing My Research Skills section to know your researching strengths and weaknesses. To summarize, scientific research is a well thought out, planned search or study that involves the collection, interpretation and comparison of data and information or information. The process of conducting research can be divided into 8 to 9 steps, including problem identification, literature review, problem formulation, deciding on the methodology, writing a research proposal, sample selection, data collection, data analysis and report writing. Skills that one needs to carry out research include the capacity to plan and complete a project independently, writing skills, analytical and critical thinking skills, presentation and organization skills, and ability to stick to deadlines and complete the project on time. The researcher's level of motivation also influences the success of research study, which is actually the most critical aspect of the successful research study. I hope now you have a clear idea what research is all about. You will learn more on how to do research in the following modules. Thank you for listening to me and have a good day.